野ウサギ、このちっちゃいやつ、いたの？タバコ吸ってる時。
2匹いたよ。
2匹いた。2匹いた。1匹いなくなったのよ。そしたら1匹捕まえたから。
猫が追いかけていたよ。
ああ、3人。2匹いたの。
To deal with illegals entering through the southern border.
I think things are going to the border, sir.
Much better than you all expected.
Did you have any plans to visit the border?
Not in the near term, no.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha says this is why Biden's approval numbers are so low.
He's more than 20 points underwater in terms of approval versus disapproval overall. When you ask voters about the border, he's in the 20s as far as his approval. And the fact that he's on a bike ride, he's in Delaware every weekend, it seems, outside of, I think, one this year. The problem is that people look at this president and see him not working. When he was asked during that interview there, or during that gaggle, will you go to the border? No, I don't have any plans anytime soon. And the fact that he is touting, that he is bragging almost, that, oh, the numbers are a little bit down from where they were. Where they were was an all-time high.
A Republican presidential candidate says while Americans loved Donald Trump's policies, he doesn't believe Trump will be elected again. Larry Elder says he believes a lot of Republicans are looking for new blood to carry on Trump's ideas.
I believe that there are so many Americans who no longer talk to relatives, no longer talk to coworkers, no longer have talked to friends, have lost friends as I have because of Donald Trump. Now, maybe someday they'll develop a vaccine for Trump derangement syndrome, but it is what it is. Houston, we've got a problem. So if you like Trump's policies and virtually everything he did, I like, but you want somebody that you think the so-called swing voters can stomach and pull the lever for, I'm your man, which is why I'm asking people to go to elderforpresident.com.
The movement to defund the police has created a dangerous ripple effect that is being felt in departments large and small, making communities across the U.S. less safe. Former Detroit Police Chief James Gregg says things are not getting any better, mainly because of prosecutors who are more concerned with the rights of criminals than victims.
I'm an optimist, and I wish I could tell you we are getting better. I think it's going to take the will of the politicians. It's going to take the will of the American people, the voters. And look at what just happened in Chicago. You went from one progressive mayor to an even more progressive mayor who clearly wants to defund the police, unless he's changed his tune, which we doubt. So what message are we really sending? We're just looking for more carnage. And you know, I got to tell you, one of the things that I have found is when you talk about some of these mayors who will not and do not take on these rogue prosecutors.
The fight is on in Illinois to prevent it from becoming a death destination. Charlie Butts explains.
Illinois is already a destination state for abortion, but now a bill is before lawmakers to legalize doctor-assisted suicide. David Smith of the Illinois Family Institute tells AFN the Bible is replete with reference to God's high value of life, such as one of the 10 Commandments, prohibiting killing or murder.
You know, when we question God, we circumvent his blessings, and we don't want to do that. So we need people to oppose this bill in Springfield. We do not want to make Illinois a death haven of the nation.
Lawmakers are hearing from proponents of euthanasia, but not necessarily those who don't support it.
There isn't an outcry from the people of Illinois. Nobody is demanding that we get this. It's going to solve no problem that we really have in Illinois. And so conservatives cannot afford to remain silent. Christians need to speak up and shine light into the darkness.
While they are emailing and calling their elected representatives, Smith stresses that Republican members of the legislature need to stand united in opposition to it. I'm Charlie Butts.
Wall Street is drifting today ahead of reports showing how much a slowing economy is hurting what's prevented a recession so far. Solid spending by U.S. households. For American Family News, I'm Rusty Keith.
Too busy to catch your favorite shows on the radio? Have no fear, because the AFR app is here. Download the app to have access to live broadcast, music streaming, as well as each podcast. Whether you're at work, at home, or on the go, it's easy to listen to AFR. The AFR app is available not only for Apple and Android users.
ちっちゃいウサギを赤ちゃんウサギだよね、このちっちゃいやつ。2匹いたの。1匹しかいなかったです。1匹は今捕まえてトイレにいるけど、私の。じゃあもう1匹どっかに行っちゃったんだね。
2匹いたよ。
あ、親はいなかったの？
いないよ。
でどうしちゃったんだろうね。朝早い時間。雨降ってたからだと思う。
AFR, hope you had a nice weekend. And joining me in studio is Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Yeah, it's great to be here on this beautiful Monday.
Yeah, it's summer's knocking on the door.
Yes, it is.
It has arrived.
It's growling at the front door.
Hey, I love it, man. Hotter the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I love the idea. I was worded right back to New England idea. I love the idea of it when it was cold, and now that I'm on the cusp of it, I'm going, oh man, it's going to be hot.
Can't wait for October. I always got something to complain about.
I do.
Too cold, too hot.
I complain.
Yeah. Speaking of, you said, how is the word idea?
Well, in New England, general rule of thumb is where there is an R in the word, it's silent, and where there is no R, you put one in. So we're conservationists. So I have a good idea about where to park the car.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. My dad, was raised in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And but he had this thing about the word idea. He would pronounce it ID.
ID.
You ever heard that before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
That's
but
country.
It's country south.
Yeah.
What that is. ID.
Yeah. I have an ID about that.
I used to say, Dad, the word is idea. Okay. I'm trying to help you. No,
I have a lot of sympathy.
Tim, I'm not big on your ID.
Yeah. I have a lot of sympathy for people's predilection towards unique pronunciation,
right.
having come from. I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived in California, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, Arkansas,
New England,
and now Mississippi. Since I lived in New England, and been mocked everywhere. So when someone says something like you said about your dad, ID, I go, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You pronounce however you want to pronounce.
Yeah.
That's an impressive list. Are you on the witness protection program?
Shh. Dad would also say dance.
Dance.
That's for dance.
Oh,
dance.
Well, that's kind of Southern adds.
Right.
Southerners seem to add a couple of syllables.
Yeah. I'm telling
dance.
You get. I was a lifelong Southerner.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys can attest. Growing up where you did. If I get 20 miles outside of town, I have a hard time understanding these people. Because it goes from Southern accent to
country Southern.
Way back in the sticks accent,
Yeah.
So you have to almost do an interpretation from city to camp to the country.
That's right.
Anyway, hope everybody had a nice weekend. A lot to talk about today on the program. Ed, you want to tell folks how they can join us?
Absolutely. If you would like to watch this program, we have a live video stream. You can access it in two different ways. You can go to Facebook Live, search for Today's Issues. That's the name of the program. Click through, You can watch us do the live. You can watch the live stream, or you can go to our own streaming platform. That is streaming.afa.net, streaming.afa.net, and you can watch the program there.
All right, Fred, what's first on the agenda here?
You know, when Joe Biden gave his inaugural address, one of the themes was that he was going to work to bring the country together because he felt the country was divided after 4 years of Donald Trump. Well, we're about 3 years into Joe Biden now?
Yeah, 2.5.
And I think most people would agree the country has not come together under Joe Biden.
Probably more divided. Yeah.
He did not help the cause at all. He went to Howard University, gave a graduation address there on the weekend, and he could not get through that speech without throwing out the term white supremacy once again. So I want you to have a little listen to part of the speech here. He said white supremacy is, quote, the most dangerous terrorist threat in America. Cut number 1.
It's a battle. It's never really over. But on the best days, enough of us have the guts and the hearts to stand up for the best in us. To choose love over hate, unity over disunion, progress over retreat. To stand up against the poison. White supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. And I'm not saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. I say it wherever I go. I stand up for truth over lies, lies told for power and profit. To confront the ongoing assault to subvert our elections. Suppress our right to vote.
That's just lie after lie after lie. It's hard to stomach. Now, when he said HBCU, that's historically black college or university. Howard University's in Washington, D.C.
But did you notice why did the audience laugh when he said, I'm not saying this just because I'm at a black university?
Because they knew that was a lie.
Right. That's my point. They're like going, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're saying that because you're at a black school. You're pandering. We know what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there wasn't a rousing applause. I don't know how many people were there. It wasn't a rousing stand-up applause when he said white supremacy is the greatest threat to our country.
But it was an applause line. You know, they were responding to the pandering.
Yeah, but it sounded kind of passive to me. Like, it didn't sound like, a roar. You know what I'm saying? I think right there, there's so many, like you said, lie after lie after lie. He's just straight pandering. He's saying, I'm going to need y'all to vote for me next time around.
And he's been bleeding support, at least in terms of polls, from the black community.
Also, white supremacy is the only, I guess, white people are the only group you can slam in general terms and get away with it. In other words, if you say Islamic terrorism, the left has a visceral reaction to that because they'll say it's not fair to lump all Islamic people in with those who commit acts of terrorism. To which I would agree, that's not fair. There is a reason for the expression Islamic terrorism because there are teachings in the Quran which you read them and you go, this is encouraging acts of violence against non-Muslims. However, the vast majority of Muslims around the world are not violent people. They're just people trying to live their lives. And you see what I'm saying? So I do think you need to be careful about making broad generalizations like that. But when it comes to white people, the left has no problem saying white supremacy. If Biden wanted to say, I have a problem with any kind of ethnic supremacy, it's a real problem. No, he just wants to single out white supremacy, which is, where is it? Where you get it? Yes, once a year or so you'll get some somebody like in Buffalo at committing acts of violence against people because they're of color or black, but you get that by people of color against people who are white too.
Well, recently, the black guy walked up and basically executed two white guys.
Yes. So, but again, it's just obvious, overt, blatant pandering.
You know,
all it is.
The folks in Chicago every weekend,
Right.
in Chicago,
Right.
they're not worried about white supremacy.
No.
It's just a sad fact. It's mostly black on black
Right.
crimes.
Right.
Same with New York.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's just playing to the crowd. That's what Joe Biden is doing. You know, he goes down south to Atlanta there several months ago. It's Jim Crow laws, all of this kind of stuff. He just keeps playing to...
It's called a race card.
That's what he's doing.
I will say this, too. I don't think you guys are going far enough in criticizing what the president said, okay? Everything you guys said is true.
So now we're liberals.
No, and I'm taking the conservative
You're going to take
position.
the conservative view.
Here's it's what he said was full of lies. Okay, all that you guys said is true. But to me, what's particularly dangerous about what he did and what he has done, as he said, starting with his inauguration, and this is going on in our schools and our universities, it is taking something that 99% of people in this country would agree with. White supremacy is wrong wherever it exists. Let's say it exists in 0.5% of people, whatever, okay? We all agree it's wrong. But he's taking that and he's sticking that label on conservative policies.
Yes.
Which is why he mentioned trying to keep people from voting.
Right.
Okay? So when they slap this label on school choice policies. We want to make sure our elections are safe and secure. They slap that label of white supremacy on it.
Right.
And now the president can say, people who want to change our voting laws to require an ID, they're white supremacists and they're a threat.
Yep.
The biggest threat to our country. It is a cynical attempt not only to pander, but to demonize the opposition, the political opposition, and to chill free speech. And I think people are waking up to it, and they're saying, we don't care what you say, which is going to further divide this country. So the unifier in chief is proving to be the most divisive candidate in recent memory.
You know, another thing is the vast majority of people in this country of all colors get along just fine.
Right.
Yes. We get along just fine. You're going to have your whacked out people every once in a while, but systemic racism, while that did exist in our country's history, that's no longer true today. There are opportunities for everybody to make a better life for yourself, to for education, advancement. There's just that's doesn't exist anymore. What he's talking about, systemic racism caused by white supremacy.
Right.
So I think you're right. I think it is dangerous what he's doing, but he's pandering to these folks in the audience, and the Democrats have to have 90% of the black vote every election, or their chances.
Or they're toast.
Yes. So they have to